Back to ecology sessions. Today we are going to have a really quick one because tomorrow I have got an exam. So let's skim through this. Shelford's law of tolerance, a law stating that the abundance or distribution of an organism can be controlled by certain factors like climatic, topographic, or biological requirement of plants and animals, where levels of these extend the maximum or minimum levels of tolerance of that organism. That is Shelford's law of tolerance. Abundance or distribution of an organism can be controlled by certain factors like climatic, topographic, and biological requirements of plants and animals, where levels of these exceed the maximum or minimum levels of tolerance of that organism. Zone of intolerance, zone of physiological stress, zone of optimum minimum stress, like that. So Ledick's law of minimum, the distribution of a species will be controlled by that environmental factor for which the organism has the narrowest range of tolerance. Liebig used the image of barrel with unequal staves to explain how plant growth is limited by the element in shortest supply, such as the level of water in the barrel is limited by the shortest hole. Then Bergmann's rule. Geographic races of a species possessing smaller body size are found in the warmer parts of the ranges, and races of smaller body size in cooler parts or warmer blooded animals. Geographic races of a species possessing smaller body size are found in the warmer parts of the ranges, and races of larger body size in cooler parts of warmer blooded animals. Birds and mammals of cold regions are larger size than those of warmer size. Cold, larger size. Polar bear is larger than black bear of temperature region. That is Bergmann's rule. Bergmann's rule exception. The birds in California are an exception to Bergmann's rule. The increasing population of birds contradicts the Bergmann's rule, which states that larger animals survive in colder regions of higher altitudes. The birds of the same genus are found smaller in size in warmer climates. So the birds in California must be getting smaller in size as a result of global warming. However, according to recent research, birds in California have increased in height and wingspan from 2 to 5% over the last 40 years. Ecogeographic principle that states that within a broadly distributed taxonomic clade, populations and species of larger size are found in colder environment, and species of smaller size are found in warmer regions. Allen's rule. The principle holding that in a warm-blooded animal species having distinct geographic population, the limbs, ears, and other appendages of the animal living in the cold climates tend to be shorter than animals of the same species living in warm climates. Shorter and more compact body parts have less surface area than elongated ones, and this radiate less body heat. Lizard fox has the largest pin as compared to red fox, small pinna, and Arctic fox, smallest pinna. You could see that in the picture. Then Jordan's, Glogger's, and Wrench's rules. Jordan's rule. Fish found in cold water tend to have more vertebrae than those found in warm water. Cod hatching at 4 to 8 degrees Celsius has 48 vertebrae, whereas those hatching at 10 to 11 degrees Celsius has a 54 vertebrae. Then Glogger's rule. Birds and insects of warmer region are darker and heavily pigmented than those of Arctic region. Others are dark skinned even in low temperature. Then Wrench's rule. That is Glogger's rule. Okay. Jordan's rule is about vertebrae number. Then Glogger's rule about the pigmentation. Then Wrench's rule. The birds of colder regions tend to have relatively narrower wings than the birds found in warmer regions. So birds in cooler regions have more vertebrae along with light colors and narrow wingspan. Ecosystem function, productivity and energy flow, nutrient cycling, decomposition, water dynamics. Productivity, rate of biomass production per unit area. Primary productivity, the rate at which radiant energy of the sun is converted into organic substances by the photosynthetic, chemosynthetic activities of producers. Gross primary productivity, the total rates of photosynthesis which include the energy used up in respiration. Net primary productivity, the storage of organic matter in the tissue of the producers that exceed the respiration. Net primary productivity, the storage of organic matter in the tissues of the producers that exceed the respiration. DPP is equal to NPP plus R. Net community productivity, organic matter not used by the heterotrophs. Secondary productivity, the rate of energy stored at consumer level. Energy flow, 10% low, 10% energy transfer from one trophic level to the next trophic level. Ecological pyramid, trophic structure and to some extent trophic function can be shown graphically by means of ecological pyramids. 3 types: pyramids of number, a graphic representation of the total number of individuals of different species belonging to each trophic level in ecosystem. Pyramids of numbers are upright because numbering of organisms decreases at relatively higher trophic levels. Grassland ecosystems, a pyramid of number may be inverted like parasitic food chain. Then pyramids of biomass. Pyramids of biomass represent total dry weight of living being of different species at each trophic level at a particular time. Pyramids of energy. An energy pyramid more accurately reflects the low thermodynamics and low of source of energy being depicted at each transfer to and the trophic levels. Pyramids comparison. Pyramid of numbers, pyramid of biomass, pyramid of energy. Population ecology, a really quick review. Density, the size of a population in relation to the definite unit of space. Crude density, it is the number of biomass per unit of total space. Ecological density, biomass per unit of that habitat space. Relative abundance, that is crude density, it is the number or biomass per unit of that total space. Relative abundance, changing population and its time relative, number of birds seen in a tree per hour. Population density is Lincoln index, a very popular way of estimating population density by Mark recapture method. X is equal to nm by n or m is equal to nn by x. X is the number of marked individuals captured. N is the total number of size of the second population. M is the number of individuals marked initially. N is the total size of population. Natality and mortality. Maximum natality is the maximum production of individuals where there is no ecological limiting factor. This is also known as fecundity rate. Ecological natality. Maximum natality is called fecundity rate. Then ecological natality is the population under the actual existing specific condition, like some limiting factors must be there. It is also called as fertility rate. And mortality, death value of individuals is more or less opposite of natality. Minimum specific potential mortality represents theoretical minimum loss under ideal or non-limiting conditions. Ecological realized mortality is the actual loss of individuals under given environmental conditions. Vital index is equal to birth per death. Survivorship curves. Mortality rate of population is expressed by survivorship curves. Survivorship curves plot the number of surviving individuals to a particular age. Type 3, type 2, type 1. Type 1, human, mountain ships. Type 2, birds, mice, rabbit, deer, etc. Type 3, oak trees, marine invertebrates. Type 3, high death rate, many individuals die young, few live to old age. Type 1, low death rate, many individuals live to old age. Moderate death rate, individuals die at all ages. Population dispersion. Spatial distribution patterns of individual population, clumped, uniform, random. Age structure, the proportion of individuals in each age group. There are 3 types of age pyramids. Rapid growth, slow growth, zero growth. Expanding population, stable population, diminishing population. Population dispersal, the movement of an individual or multiple individuals away from a population in which they were born to another location where they will settle and reproduce. Do not affect the size of population. It occurs in the 3 of the following ways: emigration, immigration, and migration. Exponential growth, some things grow at a constant rate. Money or the descendants of mating rabbits, for example, can grow faster and faster as the total number itself gets bigger, and growth becomes more rapid in relation to the growing total number, then it is exponential. Logistic growth is a population increase that happens in a manner which starts slowly as there is a few individuals, then increase in speed as numbers increase, but then decrease to halt as numbers get high enough that resources are depleted and cannot support further growth. Logistic growth is kind of logic based, because that is something which is happening in the real world. S-shaped curve. Exponential growth or J-shaped curve. Small population living in a very large and favorable habitat has a growth rate that depends on two factors: size of the population, capacity of the population, biotic potentials. Minus dn by dt is equal to r. Okay. Then logistic growth or S-shaped curve. The geometric or exponential growth of our populations is eventually curtailed by growth, food availability, competition for other resources, predation, disease, or some other ecological factor. If growth is limited by resources such as food, the exponential growth of population begins to slow as competition for those resources increases. The growth of the population eventually slows nearly to zero as the population reaches the carrying capacity of for the environment. The result is a S-shaped curve of population growth, as known as logistic growth. Exponential versus logistic. You could see the difference. R and K selection strategies. K selection, this population associated with steadily carrying capacity. R selection, exponential growth rate. Population regulation. Population can be regulated by density dependent and density independent factor. Frequent birth rate or death rate are changes in a function of population density. As population size increases, either both birth rate decline or mortality rate increase, or both. It is a negative feedback. Not always density dependent factors are negative related to population size. In some cases, growth rate increases the population size. Density independent factor are usually associated with the abiotic factor, change in the physical environment that either promote or repress population growth, but their effects are independent of population density. Metapopulation is a set of local population connected by dispersed individuals known as metapopulation. Metapopulation is a regional population composed of many local population, each of which may be extant or extinct at any one point at a time. It's an important concept for understanding population dynamics. Ecological characters. Dominant species, keystone species. Keystone in the sense several species depend on them, and whose removal would lead to a collapse of the structure and ultimate disappearance of those other species. Species diversity. Community 1, high evenness and low dominance. High dominance and low evenness. Simpson's diversity index. Shannon's diversity index. Ferenc in coefficient, distribution and species diversity. Biodiversity is significantly affected by distribution, low intensity of disturbance, high intensity of disturbance. Species diversity is high intermediate intensity of disturbance due to mix of good colonizer and good competitor species. Island geography. Large island may ultimately have a large equilibrium number of species, and small islands, because immigration rates tend to be higher and extinction. Large islands may ultimately have a larger equilibrium number of species than small islands, because immigration rates tend to be higher and extinction rates lower on large islands. Near island tend to be have larger equilibrium number of species than far island, because immigration rates to near island higher and extinction rates lower. number of species on an island is determined by immigration rates of new species to the island and extinction rates of species to the island. Migration refers to the island species interaction. Mutualism, we know what is mutualism. Both organisms get benefited. Competition, intraspecific and interspecific. Then biological interaction, organism, community, competition, competitive exclusion. And species will be when each differentiation will be occur, local extinction of species. Competitive exclusion principle. Resource partitioning. Partitioning occur. Avoids competition. Resource among several species. Character displacement. Rutka-Volterra model. The prey population will grow exponentially when the predator is absent. The predator population will starve in the absence of the prey population. Predator can consume infinite quantities of prey. There is no environmental complexity. Both populations are moving randomly through a homogeneous environment. So let's try to learn Rutka-Volterra. For any point in between the two isoclines, species 1 is still below its isocline and decrease. Yeah, it's a kind of complex one, so I prefer you to read this. Pause the video and read. This is the exam equation. Thank you for listening. And with this video, I'm gonna end preparing for UGC NET Environmental Science. So I would like to thank all those who have listened to the audios. These are not good, but still I tried. And I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the developers of these notes. Thank you everyone.